They are covered. They are hidden beneath something divine. This is not fantasy. This is Psalm 91, and it is more than poetry. It is a spiritual strategy for survival in a chaotic world, a blueprint of divine protection in the middle of your darkest night. So let's go there. Let's walk into that secret place. Let's
Find what it means to truly dwell.
in the shadow of the Almighty. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The first line doesn't scream. It whispers. It beckons. There is a place, but not everyone lives there. Many pass by it. Many pray around it. Few dwell. To dwell is to stay, to abide, not a weekend visit with God, but a permanent relocation of your trust. You can live in the chaos of the world, or you can choose to live in the calm of His presence, but you can't live in both. The secret place is found not by accident, but by decision. It is the place where fear loses its grip, where the news doesn't define your hope, where the economy doesn't dictate your peace. And in that place, you are not just sheltered, you are shadowed, covered, shielded, like a child hiding behind a father's robe during a storm. That's what God offers. That's where He invites you, not just once, but daily. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God.
In Him I will trust. This isn't passive belief. This is spoken faith. Because when the world is loud, your declaration has to be louder. Say it aloud. He is my refuge, my fortress. My God, I trust Him, not just a refuge.
My refuge, personal, possessive, protective. You don't need to explain your peace to anyone. Let your trust be louder than your trauma. Let your confession build a wall no fear can climb. And here's the twist. The power of Psalm 91 doesn't start with protection. It starts with position in the secret place, and it continues with proclamation, your voice aligning with His truth. The war around you might not stop, but when you speak truth in the middle of it, you begin to win battles no one else can see. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. Not maybe, not hopefully, surely. God's protection isn't theoretical, it's certain. He will deliver you from hidden traps, snares, from silent enemies, pestilence, from spiritual ambushes you never even saw coming. There are dangers in life that wear disguises, stress that looks like opportunity, temptation that dresses like love, voices that sound wise but sow doubt. But the secret place comes with a filter. God reveals what others miss. You see the trap before you step into it. You sense the danger before it arrives, and what's more, He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. Like an eagle guarding its young, God does not outsource your protection. He shields you Himself. You are not exposed. You are not alone. You are not vulnerable. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day. Psalm 91 doesn't say the terror won't come. It says you won't fear it. Night terror, day attacks, seen and unseen, sudden and subtle. This world tries to keep us scared. Constant noise, constant fear, but when you live in the shadow of the Almighty, your heart doesn't tremble like it used to. You walk differently. You rest deeply. You stop expecting tragedy and start expecting protection. Why? Because 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come
Near you. you begin to understand something the fearful don't. God's protection doesn't depend on the odds, it depends on his promise. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways.
Heaven doesn't just hope you make it, it assigns angels to help you. Right now, whether you feel it or not, there are unseen forces keeping you from danger, guiding your steps, fighting battles you didn't know existed. They are not random. They are charged. Given divine instruction to guard your journey, you are not walking alone, and you're not just walking protected. You're walking watched over. Sometimes the miracle is not what happened. It's what didn't happen. That accident that never came. That voice you didn't listen to. That door you didn't walk through. That's Psalm 91 in motion. Protection you didn't see. From a danger you didn't know, by angels you didn't feel. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. Now God speaks. This is no longer David's voice, it's God himself answering. And what does he say? Because he loves me, I will deliver him, I will set him on high. I will answer him, I will be with him in trouble, I will deliver and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. This is not just a list of promises, it's a relationship contract. It's what God does for the one who loves him, trusts him, lives with him. Not the perfect one, not the sinless one, the one who dwells. This is Psalm 91, a call to live in the shelter
of God's love, to trust in his protection, to rest in his promise, and to walk in peace while the world shakes. Because the secret place isn't a location, it's a decision, it's where you go.
when you choose to stay close to the one who never lets go of you. So dwell. Stay, abide. Let the shadow of the Almighty cover you, and never leave the day of trouble. Psalm 20 and the power of divine backup. There comes a moment when everything you've built is tested. The phone call you didn't expect, the storm you didn't predict, the battle you didn't prepare for. It's what Scripture calls the day of trouble. Everyone faces it. Not everyone survives it the same. But there is a secret, ancient prayer, one that shifts the outcome. Psalm 20, it's short, it's simple, but it is spiritually explosive, because in the day of trouble, this psalm doesn't just hope for help, it summons it. Let's walk through it, line by line. Let's unpack the power behind this divine battle cry and discover what happens when heaven backs you up. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob defend you. The day of trouble isn't if, it's when. And when it comes, David doesn't say, "I hope you're strong enough." He says, "I hope God answers you," because the most powerful thing in a crisis isn't your plan, it's your access. This psalm is a cry, not to people, not to status, but to God himself. Notice, David doesn't say, "May the king save you." He says, "May the Lord answer you," because when you're outnumbered, outplanned, out of strength, only God's voice can change the battlefield. And what does he call on? The name of the God of Jacob. Why Jacob? Because Jacob was the messy one, the struggler, the one who wrestled with God and still got blessed. David reminds us, God answers not the flawless, but the faithful. May he send you help from the sanctuary and strengthen you out of Zion. There are some battles you cannot win with your own resources. There are fights that require supply lines from another dimension. David says, may God send you help from the sanctuary. That means heaven is not out of reach. Your backup comes from the throne room, Not Amazon Prime, not your bank account, not your connections. From Zion, from glory. And what does it do? It strengthens you. When you feel weakest, God sends reinforcements. You're not supposed to walk into every battle ready. You're supposed to walk in dependent, because when your strength runs out, His strength steps in. May He remember all your offerings and accept your burnt sacrifice. Sometimes we feel like we've sown into God but haven't seen the harvest. Prayers that went unnoticed, sacrifices that felt unseen. But David says, God remembers. Every
late night prayer, every silent tear, every choice you made in faith, He doesn't forget. And in your day of trouble,
what felt invisible becomes your receipt. He remembers your offerings. He honors your obedience. This isn't about earning protection. It's about reminding your soul. God keeps track, and in your lowest valley, He draws from the seeds you sowed in secret. Nothing was wasted. May He grant you according to your heart's desire and fulfill all your purpose. This isn't about surface level wishes. This is deeper. This is about alignment. God wants to fulfill your heart's desire, but first, He reshapes it. Your purpose is not separate from your desire. He places a holy longing in you, then partners with you to bring it to life. The world says, chase your dreams. Psalm 20 says, let God grant the desire He shaped in you. This is purpose on fire. This is alignment with heaven. This is not striving, it's receiving. God doesn't just
want you to want, He wants to fulfill. We will rejoice in your salvation, and in the name of our God, we will set up our banners.
wait. Rejoice when? Not after the battle, before. This is faith on display. Praising in advance. Banners up before the victory is visible. In ancient warfare, banners weren't just decoration. They marked who you belonged to. They were lifted in the middle of battle as a declaration. We fight under His name. So what banner flies over your crisis? Is it fear or is it faith? David says, raise the banner before the win, before the outcome, because praise shifts the atmosphere. You don't wait for peace to praise. You praise into peace. Now I know that the Lord saves His anointed. He will answer him from His holy heaven with the saving strength of His right hand. There's a turning point in Psalm 20. David moves from may God to now I know. This is where the tone shifts. This is confidence, not in self, in the one who saves. Who are the anointed? Those set apart for His purpose. That's you. If you've surrendered, if you've said, God, I'm yours, then this applies. He will answer, He will save, He will move with power, not theory, not chance, certainty. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Here's the difference between survival and victory. Some trust systems, some trust strength, some trust speed. But David says, we trust the name. When everything falls, when technology fails, when power crumbles, we remember His name. It's not just
about belief, it's about what you reach for first. The name of the Lord isn't just sacred, it's strong. It's a fortress, a weapon, a refuge. And in the day of trouble,
you don't win by running faster. You win by standing in the name that cannot be shaken. Psalm 20 is not just a prayer, it's a prophetic anthem. It reminds us, when you cry out, He hears. When you're weak, He sends strength. When you're surrounded, He surrounds you more. And when others trust in systems, you trust in the name above every name. So raise your banner, call on His name, because the day of trouble does not end in defeat when your help comes from heaven. the shepherd's path. How Psalm 23 leads us through life's darkest valleys. There's a voice calling out in the darkness, a voice that promises peace when chaos swirls, a voice that says, "You are not alone." Psalm 23 is more than words on a page. It's a lifeline, a map, a whispered promise from a shepherd who never quit. Whether you're walking green pastures or facing shadowy valleys, this psalm speaks directly to the heart of your struggle and your hope. Today, we journey through Psalm 23 line by line, unlocking its timeless power to restore, protect, and guide. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. What does it mean to have a shepherd? Someone who leads, protects, and provides. Imagine being a sheep, lost, vulnerable, without guidance. You wander, exposed to danger. David opens with confidence, "The Lord is my shepherd." Not might be, not could be, is personal. Relational, the shepherd is not distant, he is with you, and because of him, I shall not want. Not because you're rich or problem-free, but because your needs are met in ways the world cannot provide. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. This is God's provision in action. Green pastures, a place of rest, nourishment, peace. Still waters, calm, refreshing, healing. It's a picture of restoration, not just physical, but deep soul rest. What's your green pasture? Your place of peace when the storm rages. Psalm 23 reminds us God leads us there. Not we stumble randomly, he guides. In a world that demands hustle, this verse invites us to rest, to trust the shepherd's care, even when the pressure to perform is relentless. Section 3, Restoration of the Soul, 10-14:30. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. This is more than physical rest. It's soul restoration, healing our deepest wounds, renewing our inner life. Paths of righteousness means God directs us where we should go, not just what feels good in the moment. Why? For his name's sake. God's guidance isn't random, it's purposeful. Your life matters. Your restoration honors the one who made you. In the darkest times, remember, the shepherd's goal isn't just to keep you alive, it's to make you whole. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Here's the turning point. The promise for those facing the darkest valley. The valley of the shadow of death isn't just about physical danger, it's the deepest trials, fears, and losses. David does not deny the valley's reality. He acknowledges it, but his focus is on who is with him. The shepherd. The rod and staff are tools of protection and guidance. The rod drives away threats. The staff gently guides back the lost. When fear tries to paralyze, the shepherd's presence comforts. You're not abandoned. You're protected. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup
runs over. This verse flips the script. Enemies surround, threats loom, yet God sets a feast, a table prepared in their presence, a public declaration of favor and provision. Oil anointing signifies honor, healing, and blessing. Your cup overflows, not just surviving, but thriving. In the midst of opposition, God celebrates you. This is radical grace, a feast of peace when the world expects fear. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Goodness and mercy are not occasional visitors. They follow us every step, every day. They chase us relentlessly, offering hope and love. Dwelling in God's house means
living in his presence continually, not just a one-time experience. It's an invitation to a lifelong relationship, a promise of eternal home. Psalm 23 isn't just poetry, it's a living, breathing promise. The shepherd leads. He restores, he protects, he honors, he pursues. No matter where you are, green pastures or shadowy valleys, you are never alone. This psalm invites us to trust deeply, to walk boldly, to live fully, because the Good Shepherd is always with us. The fortress of faith, how Psalm 91 shields you in life's greatest battles. Imagine having a fortress so strong, no storm can break in. A refuge so sure, fear has no place to stand. Psalm 91 offers this promise, a divine protection that guards the heart and soul. In a world filled with uncertainty, dangers both seen and unseen, this psalm speaks directly to the deepest need we all share: safety. Today we dive deep into Psalm 91, discovering how faith becomes a shield, how God becomes a refuge, and how you can live boldly, knowing you are under His mighty protection. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. What does it mean to dwell in God's secret place? It's more than physical presence. It's an intimate, unshakable connection, a lifestyle of trust and surrender. When you dwell in God, you're not just a visitor. You live in His protection. The shadow of the Almighty isn't darkness. It's a place of safety, a shade that shields from life's burning trials. What would your life look like if you truly rested in this shadow every day? I will say of the Lord,
He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust. A refuge is a place you run to when danger approaches. A fortress is a stronghold,
built to withstand attack. David boldly declares that God is both, but this declaration is more than words. It's a conscious choice. Trust isn't passive. It's a daily decision to turn away from fear and cling to God's protection. Have you chosen your refuge today? He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. Life is filled with traps, invisible dangers waiting to catch us off guard. The fowler is a hunter who sets traps, just like life sets snares for our peace. And pestilence, a deadly threat that spreads without warning. Psalm 91 promises deliverance from these threats. This isn't just about physical safety, it's about protection for your soul, your mind, your heart. How often do you feel caught in traps you didn't see coming? He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. Picture a mother bird shielding her young beneath her wings. Tender, fierce, unyielding. God's protection is both gentle and powerful. Under His wings, we find safety and nurture.
even when the world is harsh. The truth of God becomes a shield, a defense against lies, fear, and doubt. What fears would you hand over to God right now? You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day.
Fear has a way of paralyzing us, especially when dangers come suddenly, unexpectedly. But Psalm 91 offers an antidote, a fearless heart. Whether it's night terrors or daily battles, God's protection is constant. What would your life be like if fear no longer controlled your steps? For He shall give His angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. God sends guardians, unseen protectors, watching over you day and night. This is a promise of care that never sleeps, and the psalm ends with God's own words. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. Love and knowledge of God unlock protection and deliverance. Psalm 91 is not just ancient poetry, it's a battle cry for your soul. A declaration that no matter the dangers you face, no
matter how fierce the storm, God is your fortress, your refuge, your shield. To dwell in his presence is to live unafraid. So choose today to step into the shadow of the Almighty. Your fortress awaits.
When you call on the Lord, the power and promise of Psalm 20, have you ever faced a moment when you felt everything was on the line? A time when you prayed with all your heart, hoping for victory, for breakthrough, for rescue? Psalm 20 is a powerful prayer of faith, hope, and assurance, written to strengthen us when we stand at the edge of life's battles. Today, we'll explore the promises and power behind this psalm, how it calls us to trust, how it fills our hearts with courage, and how it assures us that God hears when we call. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. These opening words are more than a greeting. They're a bold prayer for help. When trouble comes, and it will, this psalm invites us to seek God's protection, confident he will respond. The God of Jacob is a God who remembers his promises, who never forgets his people. Imagine the comfort of knowing the Creator of the universe is your personal protector. How do you call on God in your moments of trouble? May he send you help from the sanctuary and strengthen you out of Zion. Help comes from the holy place, from the very presence of God. This isn't about self-reliance, it's about divine empowerment. When life's battles feel overwhelming, God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. Psalm 20 reminds us that true victory comes from the help God provides, not from our own efforts alone. What battles are you facing that need God's strength today? May he remember all your
offerings and accept your burnt sacrifice.
Selah. This verse connects prayer with worship and obedience. God honors the heart that seeks him earnestly, that lives in alignment with his will. Selah invites us to pause and reflect on this truth. How does your worship prepare you to receive God's blessings and victories, grant you according to your heart's desire, and fulfill all your purpose? Here, Psalm 20 expresses God's generosity, that he gives according to the desires rooted in a faithful heart. But what happens when our desires conflict with God's plan? True trust means surrendering even our dreams, knowing God's purpose is higher and better. This psalm calls us to align our hearts with God's, so he can fulfill our truest purpose. What desires do you need to realign with God's will? We will shout for joy when you are delivered, and in the name of our God we will set up our banners. This verse bursts with celebration, a promise that victory is coming. The banners symbolize triumph, a public declaration that God has won the battle. Psalm 20 urges us to hold on to hope, to stand firm in faith until that moment of breakthrough. Can you imagine the joy of victory after waiting in faith? Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. This powerful contrast reminds us that human power and technology are limited. True security comes only from trusting God. No matter how impressive the weapons or how strong the army, God's name alone is our ultimate hope. Where have you placed your trust? In people or in God? Psalm 20 is a prayer for strength, a call to faith, and a celebration of God's faithfulness. When you face trials, remember this: your victory is not in your own might, but in the name of the Lord. Call on him with confidence. Trust in his power to answer, protect, and deliver, and when victory comes, shout for joy. For you have been upheld by the God who never fails. The shepherd's promise, finding peace and purpose. In Psalm 23, imagine walking through life with a guide who knows every step, every shadow, every joy. Psalm 23 is one of the most beloved passages in the Bible, a timeless poem that captures God as the Good Shepherd who leads, protects, and restores. In this video, we'll journey through the beautiful imagery of Psalm 23, uncover its deep spiritual truths, and discover how it offers us peace, even in the darkest valleys of life. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This opening line is simple but profound. To want here means to lack nothing. When God is our shepherd, he provides everything we truly need, far beyond material things. The shepherd imagery speaks of care, protection, and intimate knowledge. Imagine a shepherd who knows each sheep by name, who watches over them day and night. What does it mean for you to have God as your personal shepherd? He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. These words paint a picture of rest and renewal. Green pastures symbolize abundance and nourishment. Still waters speak of peace and calm amid chaos. In life, we often rush, worry, and struggle, but God invites us to rest in his care. Have you experienced God's peace in your life's storms? He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Restoration here means deep healing, emotional, spiritual, even physical. God's guidance isn't just about direction, it's about making us whole again. Paths of righteousness means living in alignment with God's truth. This promise reminds us that no matter how broken we feel, God can restore us fully. What parts of your soul need restoration today? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This is the heart of the psalm, facing the darkest, scariest moments with confidence. The valley of the shadow of death represents any place of deep fear or danger. Yet the psalmist declares no fear because God's presence brings comfort. The rod and staff are symbols of protection and guidance. How do you find courage when life feels darkest? You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. This image is striking. Even surrounded by opposition, God provides abundance and honor. The table represents fellowship, provision, and victory. Anointing with oil signifies being chosen and blessed. The overflowing cup shows overwhelming blessings even in hard times. Have you experienced God's provision in the midst of struggle? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This final promise is about God's lifelong presence and favor. Goodness and mercy are not just gifts, but companions on our journey. To dwell in the house of the Lord means to live in his presence continually, now and forever. What hope does this promise give you for the future? Psalm 23 is more than a beautiful poem. It's a guide for life. It reminds us we are never alone, never without provision or protection. No matter what valley you face today, God is your shepherd, leading you, restoring you, and surrounding you with his love. So take heart, rest in his care, and walk confidently forward, because with the Lord as your shepherd, you shall not want. Under his wings, the unshakable shelter of Psalm 91. What does it truly mean to live in a place of absolute
Safety?
Psalm 91 promises a refuge so secure nothing can break through, no fear, no danger, no enemy. Today we dive deep into Psalm 91, the psalm of protection, shelter, and divine rescue. We'll explore its bold promises and discover how, in a chaotic world, you can find peace under the shadow of God's wings. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The psalm opens with an invitation and to dwell or make your home in God's presence. This secret place is not a physical location but a spiritual reality. It's a place of intimacy, trust, and constant communion with God. To abide under the shadow of the Almighty means to live constantly protected by His power. What does it take for you to live in this secret place daily? I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust. This declaration is a powerful act of faith. A refuge is a place of safety. A fortress is a stronghold against attack. No matter what storms rage outside, God promises to be your shelter. Trust here is not passive. It's an active choice to rely on God above all else. How does this trust change the way you face life's challenges? Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. The psalmist paints vivid pictures of danger, traps, deadly disease, unseen threats, but God promises deliverance, rescue from things that would harm or destroy. This speaks to God's sovereignty over every threat. Visible or invisible, think about the hidden dangers you face, fears, anxieties, threats, and imagine God stepping in to save you. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. Fear has a way of robbing our peace and joy, but here, the psalmist speaks of fearlessness, a deep inner security that nothing can shake. Whether threats come at night or day, seen or unseen, God's protection holds firm. What fears have robbed your peace, and how can Psalm 91 help you overcome them? For He shall give His angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. This verse shows God's personal care, dispatching angels to guard and guide. It's a reminder that protection is not passive. God actively watches over us. Imagine knowing you have divine protectors watching your every step. How does this change your view of God's care in everyday life? With long life I will satisfy Him and show Him my salvation. Psalm 91 closes with promises of a long, fulfilled life and ultimate salvation. God rewards trust with blessings that span this life and the next. This is a powerful hope that God's protection isn't temporary, but eternal. What does it mean to you to have a God who promises salvation and satisfaction? Psalm 91 reminds us that no matter what we face, storms, dangers, fears, there is a place of safety. It's found in the secret place under the shadow of the Almighty. Living there means choosing daily to trust, rest, and walk confidently under God's protection. So today, step into that refuge and let Psalm 91 be your shield and shelter. Because with God as your fortress, you are unshakable. What if every battle you face isn't yours to fight alone? What if behind the scenes God is already working, already moving, already setting victory in motion? Psalm 20 is a battle cry, not of fear, but of faith. It's a declaration spoken before the war begins, a song of trust in the God who fights for His people. Today we're going to walk through Psalm 20, line by line, and uncover what it truly means to place your hope, not in weapons, not in strength, but in the name of the Lord. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob defend you. This is where it begins, not with control, but with surrender. The day of trouble comes for all of us. Loss, confusion, fear, spiritual battles we can't see. But Psalm 20 opens with a blessing that God Himself would answer you. Not a distant force, a personal God, the same one who delivered Jacob, the deceiver turned patriarch. And this line, may the name of the God of Jacob defend you. Not just His power, His name, His identity, His character, because sometimes it's not about what you can do, but who's fighting on your behalf. May He send you help from the sanctuary and strengthen you out of Zion. This is holy help, not from people, not from strategy, not from intellect, but from the sanctuary. From the place of His presence when you're weary, when your faith is stretched thin, He strengthens you from Zion. God's help isn't generic, it's sacred. It meets you at the altar and fuels your soul to keep going. May He remember all your offerings and accept your burnt sacrifice. Sometimes it feels like your faithfulness goes unseen. The quiet prayers, the obedience no one claps for, the sacrifices that cost you deeply. But Psalm 20 reminds you, God remembers every offering, every step of trust, every time you said yes when it hurt. He accepts what you've surrendered, not because it earns you victory, but because it invites Him into the fight. May He grant you according to your heart's desire and fulfill all your purpose. God doesn't just fight for you. He knows what's in your heart, your dreams, your calling, the thing deep inside you that longs to be fulfilled. Psalm 20 is an echo of God's delight in partnering with your purpose. When your desires align with His will, victory becomes more than survival. It becomes fulfillment. What desire has God placed in your heart? And are you brave enough to let Him bring it to life His way? We will rejoice in your salvation, and in the name of our God, we will set up
our banners before the battle is even won, before the answer comes.
The people shout, not because everything is easy, but because they know who holds the outcome. This is what faith looks like, joy before the victory. The banner represents identity, allegiance. To raise the banner of God's name means you are saying, He is my King, my trust is in Him. Who or what are you lifting a banner for? Now I know that the Lord saves His anointed. He will answer him from His holy heaven with the saving strength of His right hand. This is where confidence is born. You are not forgotten. You are anointed. God hears, God answers, God saves. The right hand speaks of authority and strength. That strength is working on your behalf, even when you don't see it. Let this settle in your spirit. You are not alone in this. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God.
Weapons, wealth, control, that's what the world leans on. But you remember the name. You remember the God who split the sea, brought down walls and shut the mouths of lions. You remember who you belong to. You trust in something unshakable.
Even when everything else crumbles, they have bowed down and fallen, but we have risen and stand upright. That's the promise. Those who trust in themselves will fall. But those who trust in the name of the Lord, they will rise, they will stand. Psalm 20 is more than poetry. It's a battle cry for your soul. So lift your eyes, raise your banner, speak his name, because when God fights for you, the outcome is already victory. Psalm 27, the light that breaks through fear. There are moments when fear grips you, moments when shadows grow long and your heart beats a little louder in the silence. But in those moments, something eternal breaks through. Psalm 27 isn't just a psalm, it's a lifeline, a cry from the heart of David, not just to escape his enemies, but to remain unshaken when the world falls apart. It is a confession, a declaration, a choice to trust the light, even when the darkness closes in. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? These aren't just poetic lines. They are war cries against anxiety, light, salvation, strength. When David wrote this, he wasn't sitting on a throne. He was surrounded by threats. And yet he says, "Whom shall I fear?" Why? Because when God is your light, fear loses its shadow. When he is your salvation, you stop trying to save yourself. When he is your strength, weakness isn't a limitation.
It's a doorway. When the wicked came against me, they stumbled and fell. David doesn't pretend enemies aren't real. He just knows who wins. When people plot against you, when systems seem stacked, when fear presses in, you need more
than good advice. You need truth. The truth that God doesn't just protect you, he causes the enemy to stumble. You won't always avoid the attack, but you will outlast it, because his presence doesn't always prevent the storm, but it always carries you through. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. Pause. If you could ask God for just one thing, what would it be? More money? More time? A breakthrough? David wanted one thing, to be with God, to sit in his presence, to see his beauty. He knew the battles outside can't defeat you if peace is alive inside. This is the secret. When God becomes your one thing, everything else finds its place. For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle, he shall hide me. David doesn't say, God will remove the trouble. He says, God will hide me in it. There's a secret place, a space where your soul can breathe, where fear can't follow, where accusations lose power, not because you're far from battle, but because you're near to God. This is the invitation. Come hide, not in escape, but in presence. And now my head shall be lifted up above my enemies all around me. Enemies may still surround you, but David saw something higher. God lifts you above the fear. He doesn't just help you survive, he helps you see differently, to worship when it's hard, to rejoice when it's costly, to sing songs of deliverance, even if the chains haven't broken yet, because worship isn't a response to victory.
It's the sound that calls victory in. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice, have mercy. Do not hide your face from me. David gets raw here. Even the man after God's own heart had moments where he felt unheard, unseen. Have you ever prayed
and felt nothing? Felt like heaven went quiet? Psalm 27 gives you permission to say it, to cry out, to ask God, "Don't leave me, don't turn away." And God listens, not because you're strong, but because you're His. When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take care of me. This verse hits deep. Even the closest relationships can fail, but God doesn't walk away. He takes you in. He holds you close. When everyone else disappears, He steps closer. That's who He is. That's who He's always been. Wait on the Lord. Be
of good courage, and He shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. This is how Psalm 27 ends. Not with final answers, but with final hope. Wait, don't rush, don't panic.
Don't give up, because waiting is not wasting when it's done in God's presence. Courage doesn't mean never feeling fear. It means trusting God enough to stand still and let Him strengthen your heart. So today, wait, and while you wait, worship. Because the light will break through and fear will lose its grip, and you will rise, unshaken. Psalm 112, the quiet power of the righteous. What does it mean to live a good life? Is it fame, fortune, comfort? Psalm 112 offers a different answer. It's a picture, not of power in the world's eyes, but of quiet strength. Of a man or woman who fears the Lord, walks in truth, and lives with unwavering peace. This psalm doesn't shout, it shines, and in a noisy, anxious world, that kind of life is revolutionary. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who delights greatly in His commandments. This isn't about terror, it's about awe, the kind of reverence that realigns your life. To fear the Lord means you don't bow to pressure or money or opinions. You bow to truth. And when that becomes your posture, blessing follows. Not just wealth or health, but legacy, purpose, security. His descendants will be mighty on earth. The generation of the upright will be blessed. One person's faith changes everything. Your integrity doesn't end with you. It carves a path for your children. Your decisions today were to forgive, to pray, to obey, echo into generations. The righteous don't just think about today, they build a legacy. And that legacy changes lives you may never even meet. Wealth and riches will be in His house, and His righteousness endures forever. This isn't about prosperity gospel hype, it's about wholeness. God can trust the righteous with wealth, because they don't worship it, they use it, share it, build with it, heal with it. But more than money, the real treasure is righteousness that lasts, because dollars fade, but character echoes in eternity. Unto the upright there arises light in the darkness. That's the promise. Not that darkness never comes, but that it never wins. When others are lost in fear, the righteous walk with clarity, because God lights their path. Even in confusion they carry peace. Even in sorrow they carry hope. They become the people others look to when everything else is shaking, because they've been with God in secret. So they stand in strength in public. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. And this is the kind of person God shapes. Not harsh, not proud, but gracious, compassionate. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to be famous to matter. In a world that celebrates ego, God honors kindness, and He multiplies the impact of those who serve in silence and love with sincerity. Surely He will never be shaken. The righteous will be in everlasting remembrance. That's a bold statement, never shaken. It doesn't mean storms don't hit. It means the foundation holds. Because when your life is built on truth, not trends, on trust, not titles, on purpose, not popularity, you become unshakable, not because
of who you are, but because of who holds you. He will not be afraid of evil tidings.
his heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. The righteous man isn't naive. He hears the news, he feels the pain, but his heart doesn't collapse. Why? Because it's anchored. When fear knocks, faith answers. When bad news comes, peace holds its ground, because his trust isn't in headlines. It's in the one who holds the whole story. His righteousness endures forever. His horn will be exalted with honor. This is the final promise. The righteous won't just survive, they'll shine. In a world dimmed by compromise, they will glow with quiet power, not because they chased greatness, but because they chased God. And in the end, that's what truly lasts. Let Psalm 112 be more than a poem. Let it be your pattern. Live in reverence. Walk in truth. Love with grace. Stand in peace. And watch God write a legacy through your life that never fades. Psalm 24. Who may stand in the holy place? The earth feels chaotic. Voices rise, fear spreads, people run, chasing power, pleasure, position, and in the noise, we forget one thing. This world isn't ours. Psalm 24 begins with a reminder that silence is pride, the earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, everything we chase, everything we fight over, it all belongs to Him. And in a world trying to build kingdoms, Psalm 24 asks a deeper question. Who may enter the king's, highs the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein? We don't own this place, we're stewards, not kings. Every mountain, every ocean, every breath is borrowed. And when you start there, something shifts. You stop competing for things that don't last. You stop building castles in the sand. You start seeking what's eternal, and that search leads to a hill. Who may ascend into the hill of the Lord, or who may stand in His holy place? This isn't about geography, it's about proximity. Not who can walk to God, but who can stand before Him. It's the question of the soul. Can I stand clean? Can I come close to the one who sees everything? Psalm 24 doesn't leave us guessing. He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul to an idol, nor sworn deceitfully. This isn't about perfection, it's about posture. Clean hands, your actions, pure heart, your motives, no idols, your loyalty, no deceit, your integrity. This is what God honors, not performance, but purity, not popularity, but surrender. He's not asking for flawless, He's asking for real. He shall receive blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. This is the reward. Not fame, not applause, but blessing, real, deep, eternal, and righteousness, not earned, but given, because no one climbs the hill alone. God meets us with mercy. He doesn't just call us up, He lifts us, and He gives us what we could never earn, the right to stand with Him. This is Jacob, the generation of those who seek Him, who seek your face. God's not looking for religious robots. He's looking for seekers, people hungry for His presence. He's looking for a generation, but not perfect, but pursuing. People who don't just want His hand, they want His face, His heart, His holiness. And those who seek Him like that, they find Him, always. Lift up your heads, O you gates, and be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Now the psalm shifts. From personal purity to cosmic celebration, it's as if the gates of heaven and earth are called to attention, because someone is coming, not just anyone, the King, the one whose presence makes the earth tremble. The gates must rise, the doors must open, because glory is entering. Who is this King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. This is no ordinary king. He's not fragile. He's not fearful. He's the Lord, strong and mighty. The one who wins battles we don't even see. The one who fights for hearts, breaks chains,
and silences shame. And the question is not just, who is he? It's, is he welcome in your gates? Lift up your heads, O you gates.
and be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. This is your invitation. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to open. Let him in into your thoughts, your past, your fear, your future. The King of glory wants to dwell, and not in temples, but in you. Let the gates rise, let the pride fall. Lift up your eyes, open your heart, because when he enters, everything changes. This is Psalm 24, and it's not just poetry, it's a call. Will you answer it? Psalm 1. The two roads of your life is moving right now. You're on a path, and whether you realize it or not, that path is shaping everything. Psalm 1 doesn't open with a story, it opens with a choice, not between good and bad, but between two ways of being. One leads to life, the other to withering, and you don't drift to the right path by accident. You choose it every day. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of scoffers. It starts subtle. You don't jump into darkness. You walk into it, you listen to advice that sounds smart but pulls you from God. Then you pause, you stay. You stand where compromise feels comfortable. And finally, you sit. You settle. That's how the drift happens. But Psalm 1 says, the blessed don't follow that path. They resist the current and choose another rhythm. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. What delights you directs you. The blessed don't just read God's word. They delight in it, they chew on it, think about it, live in it. It becomes more than information, it becomes formation. It shapes how they see the world, how they treat people, how they make choices. And it's not an obligation, it's oxygen. Day and night, their roots go deep. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. That's the picture. Not fame, not comfort, but a tree, rooted, steady, fed by something deeper. You don't see the water, but it's there, and because
of that hidden life there's fruit, not always instantly, but in season. And when drought comes, the leaves don't wither.
because their source isn't circumstance, it's God. This is what Psalm 1 offers, a life that flourishes from the inside out. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Here's the contrast. Chaff, dry, weightless, rootless, blown by every new idea, every shifting opinion, no anchor.
No fruit. Just motion with no meaning. They may look successful, but inside it's hollow. They're not planted. They're tossed. And Psalm 1 doesn't flinch. It tells the truth. That path leads to collapse. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous.
This isn't about being good enough, it's about being real. In the end, every path leads somewhere, and God doesn't grade on a curve. There's a line between the rooted and the restless, and on that day, only one kind of life will stand. Not the one who knew the most, but the one who walked with God. That's the kind of righteousness Psalm 1 speaks of, in a life aligned, not just avoiding evil, but delighting in truth. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way
Of the wicked will perish. Psalm 1 ends where it began. 2 paths, 2 lives.
2 destinies, but there's one more detail, and the Lord knows the way of the righteous. He sees it, covers it, protects it, even when it's lonely, even when it's costly. You're never walking it alone, but the other path? It doesn't just fade, it perishes. Not because God is cruel, but because that road leads away from him, and life apart from God always crumbles. So here's the question: where are you walking? Are you rooted or restless? Are you delighting in what gives life, or slowly drifting from walking to standing to sitting and forgetting who you are?
Psalm 1 isn't just a poem, it's a map, a warning, and a promise. You don't have to live dry. You don't have to be blown by the wind. You can be rooted in truth, in grace, in God. And when you are, you'll bear fruit you didn't force. You'll
Stand when others fall. You'll know peace no storm can shake, because the way of the righteous
is watched by the one who made the path, so choose wisely. You're not just walking, you're becoming. Psalm 121, help is closer than you. Think you ever look up and feel like the world is just too much? Like you've hit the edge of your strength?
You whisper, where does my help come from? That question, it's ancient, it's raw. And Psalm 121 doesn't dodge it, it walks straight into it, and it answers with a kind of hope that doesn't shake, a hope that keeps you not just today, but
forever. I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from?
This isn't a poetic line, it's a cry. Back then, travelers faced danger on mountain roads. Thieves, storms, wild animals. The hills weren't comforting, they were threatening, but the psalmist lifts his eyes anyway. Why? Because that's where fear lives, and the only way through fear is to face it. Not with panic, but with a question. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Not from the mountains, but from the one who made them. You're not relying on chance. You're not hoping. The odds are in your favor. Your help isn't limited, it's eternal. It doesn't flinch at your situation, because he spoke the stars into place. The winds obey him, and that God is your helper. Not distant, present, personal. That changes everything. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. You don't need someone who checks in on you once in a while. You need a God who's awake when you're not. And that's exactly what Psalm 121 says. While you sleep, he watches. While you stumble, he steadies. When you feel like falling apart, he keeps your steps from falling. It's not about your perfection, it's about his protection. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. This isn't just for a select few. It's for you, for his people, for the weary, for the ones who feel unseen. He doesn't doze off. He doesn't forget. Your keeper is never distracted, and he doesn't take breaks, not at 3 a.m. Not when the anxiety
hits. Not when everyone else is too tired to care. God never stops watching over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand.
The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. Shade. It sounds soft, but in a desert, shade is survival. When life feels like heat, relentless, exhausting, burning, God becomes your cover. And when the night brings shadows, fear, doubt, depression, God is still there by day or night. When it's loud or when it's lonely, He guards you, right beside you, not just above you, at your right hand, close enough to touch. He will watch over your life. Does that mean nothing bad ever happens? No, but it means nothing touches you without first passing through Him. It means no pain can rewrite His plan, no chaos can cancel His care. He guards not just your body, but your soul, your purpose, your destiny. He keeps your life, not in the fragile sense, but in the eternal sense, because His keeping doesn't have an expiration date. The Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore. Your movements, all of them, matter to Him. The steps you take into the unknown, the doors you open, the exits you cry through, the new seasons, the hard goodbyes, He's there for all of it, not just the big moments. Every moment now and forever. There's no expiration on His faithfulness, no pause button on His presence. You are always under His watch. You are never outside His reach. So when you ask, where does my help come from? You're not asking into the void, you're asking a God who answers, who made the mountains, who walks beside you, who never sleeps and never lets go. Your help has a name, and He is closer than you think, so lift your eyes. You're not alone. You are
never unprotected, because the Lord is your keeper, and He's keeping you still.